Hi, thanks for joining me. Appreciate you taking the time. Today I'm going to make physical barriers for some of my bushes. I have a few that I left unprotected over the summer, and it's time to make new ones and keep the deer away. They've got a good head start on this one already. I like rolled fencing as the medium of choice. It's easy to find, not terribly expensive, easy to work with. It can be reused for other bushes when this bush gets too big, and it will last a long time. I don't like sprays and powders because they are ineffective, costly, and a complete waste of my time. So what do we have for physical hazards today? I tell you, that other guy, he just drones on and on and on. What is he really talking about? I don't know. He just puts me to sleep. So we're going to do things a little differently this time. Instead of my just telling you what's going on with hazards, we're going to go over these together. And in the future, you can start working on these yourself. Now, if you want more detail, look up an FMEA, Failure Modes and Effects Analysis. That has a different scoring system, much more complicated for our uses. We're going to keep everything simple. So then, for hazard scoring, we've got 0 is non-significant, 1, injury is likely without controls in place, and 2, injury is likely with controls in place. 2s are what we want to pay attention to the most. All right, keeping it very simple, once again. 4 things on this list will be redundant no matter what work we do: weather, environmental, health, and familiarity with the job. Hopefully, those are all 0s and 1s. Think about it. What can you do to control the situation more? Such as today, weather, mid-80s, sunny, no wind. Suppose you're doing lawn mowing. Some of this may not play a factor. If you're chainsawing, more of it may be a factor. List those out. What can we do to control it? Shade, water, rest, sunscreen, hat. Environmental, we have insects, bees, animals. I'm scoring that as a 0. In this particular case, just be aware of changing conditions, such as there may not be insects out now. What about in 10 minutes when the sun's beating down on us and the bees start coming out? We may need to address that. That may become a 2. Self, how about our own health? Are we able to do the job with our own physical limits? What about ergonomics, stretching, awareness? If we're bending at the hips instead of bending at the knees, be aware of that. Take corrections with ergonomics. Tools. There may be pinching, cuts, drops, cluttered work area, especially in this case, cluttered work area. We have a lot of stuff laying out everywhere. Pick things up, set them aside when we're not using them. Footwear. Dropping a hammer, dropping a pair of pliers. Wear your footwear. Familiarity. Do I know what I'm doing? Have I seen others do it? Have I tried to do it? Have I practiced it? Limit modifications without thinking about it previously. Don't go halfway into a job and think, I'm going to try this instead. This may work better. Stop. Put some thought into it. The big one, materials. We have a lot of potential energy that may change into kinetic energy. We have coils unrolling. We have spring-like actions from the fencing itself. What can we do to restrict those items? Big one, the 2. Injury is likely even with controls in place. Cuts and pokes. We have sharp edges. Just last weekend, I was working with fencing. I got a cut here. I got a cut there. I even had all this in place, and I still got cut, but it wasn't bad. So, leather gloves, long pants, safety glasses, no long sleeves, and not in this weather. It's too hot. Then we have to go back up here to weather. We would have to think about sunstroke, heat exhaustion. Do we know the symptoms? Do we know how to treat it ourselves? Do we know when to get a doctor involved? Focus, focus, focus. Is our tetanus shot up to date? What kind of technique do we want to use on the cutting of this fencing? Do we want to make it flush with the other piece of metal? Do we want pieces sticking out? That all depends, because are we going to do butt ends and zip tie them or fold the ends over? Do we want to fold them inside, fold them outside? We fold them outside. We may catch ourselves later when we're outside. An animal could go by, catch themselves. Your grandchild may come by. Do we want to fold them over inside instead? What are the benefits? These are all factors that need to be taken into account. Okay, back to the boring guy. For today's job, I'm using 48-inch rolled wire. Common sizes are 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, and if you can find it, 6 feet. Lengths range anywhere from 25 feet to 250 feet, and the common mesh size is 2-inch by 4-inch. If you're limited and can only find, say, 2 feet or 3 feet, but you have a 5-foot bush you want to cover, just use 2 sections of 3 feet, stack them, and zip tie them together. This will keep out adult rabbits, but if you want to keep out the squirrels, baby rabbits, chipmunks, and the like, one can also wrap the bottom with chicken wire. Today I'm using lineman pliers. I also have regular pliers and side snips. It's good to pay attention to your roll when you're undoing it. I've never had it just spring open, but there always is that chance. So one more to do here. Now 2 more. There. Now, so that I don't get stuck with the ends of these and start bleeding from the scrape, I'm going to go ahead and snip all these off. Whether we use 2 pi r as the circumference or pi times d, the answer is the same. We need 10.5 feet. Now, depending on how we want to fasten the ends together, we may go to the next cell and snip there, which I'm going to do just to show you what I mean. Otherwise, we could cut it flush and have no open ends to poke us. I happen to know my shoe is 13 inches long, so if I use 10 steps, I will be close and give me a little extra. Okay, right where my pliers are at, you'll also notice that the block on the end holds the wire down, keeps it from flipping up and scratching me, and that the roll is facing curl side up. If I face it curl side down, I can trip easier and fall, and if I accidentally step on the wire, it will put a kink in it that's hard to get out. This way, if I step on it, yes, I still have a slight tripping hazard, but I won't put a kink in it. Practicing my ergonomics, I'll be down on my knees rather than bending at my back. Notice I've got some weight on one of the ends so it doesn't flip up and catch me in the face when I'm done snipping. There. Also got a block there. I've got a block on the back to keep it from rolling. So when I was talking about pinning the ends together, notice you've got this wire sticking out, but this side is flush. Well, that makes it ready for next time. It's still sharp. It still catches on my glove, but at least it's not pokey. So I can either snip this off now or put a bend in it to get the 2 ends to tie together. Like so. This way cheaper. The other way though, if you snip it off and use wire ties, it raises the cost. Just as easy to do. Everything's moved out of the way now, so I'm not going to trip on materials. This way isn't quite as safe versus pinning the ends together with zip ties. I'm being careful, and I would rather save the extra dollar, use it on something else. They will all line up. Okay, put that down. Walk around the other side so I don't trip. Take the block off and then get out of the way. It will roll the other direction now. All right. Put it around the bush. Put the seam to the back. Top and bottom look similar as far as defects go. And it's just a matter of putting these ends together. Push those together. So here's what it looks like when the two ends are tied together. And for comparison, I did the bottom one using a zip tie. Almost done. 2 steps left. You'll notice we are on a grade, so it doesn't sit level. East-west is off by only ½ an inch, so I'm not going to worry about that. However, north-south will bother me all winter from the window. And we are about 4½ inches out of level. The way to fix that is to snip off the bottom row on one side, leave the other side full length. These happen to be 4-inch tall squares, and it will be close. Here's the finished product. Nice and sturdy, not going to go anywhere. Let's take a look at some of the others we've done before.
Recently transplanted ornamental grasses need protected against skunks and possums. These grasses are fine, but the bushes needed protected. Another burning bush. A young white pine. The circumference of an oblong can be approximated using the short and long axis average. A young maple in a 60-inch tall fence. And finally, a Norway spruce. I hope today has been useful for you. Please join me again.